Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Colony Drop, a Gundam podcast. My name is Isaac.
And my name is Brian, and this is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. From the anime, to the music, to the models, to the OVAs, to the movies, you name it, we do it all.
And today we're talking about something very special. We're talking about the latest news. We got the big scoop, right Brian?
That is right. There was a plethora of new information released about the new Gundam anime series called Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury. This will begin airing in October in Japan, and apparently there will be international simulcasts, Isaac, so hopefully we get same day or next day-ish subbed releases somehow. That should be fun.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Isaac? It's been a long time since we've really had one kind of on the air. I guess the last real one was Iron-Blooded Orphans, right? I mean, there were a few of those build series and battle-log type shows, but not a real new series, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. I think we both are. And is it me, Brian, or does this series have like an energy about it? Right? Like there's sort of an alluring mystery to this enigma, the witch from Mercury. I just sense something with the anime style, with the early images I'm seeing.
I think fresh is a good way to describe it. I hadn't thought of that, but that makes sense to me. It definitely seems younger, not in the sense that it's for young children, but in the sense that it feels a little bit different and new.
Yeah.
Could be because of the mention of Mercury, right? We don't really generally branch out to that many different planets. I mean, Mars was in Iron-Blooded Orphans, but beyond that, we don't go around the solar system too much. So maybe is that part of it? And then plus you got the female main character.
Yeah, that's a first, right? It's got a lot going for it. Also, just going by the art style, I know this is kind of hard to go by and say this, but it looks like it's going to be a fairly serious Gundam political type intrigue story. And by that I mean there's going to be a lot of, different factions that have different goals, and they'll be competing and fighting. It's not going to be like Build Fighters Try or G Gundam. It's not going to be like Gundam Age, which was a little bit more of a junior high Gundam almost. This looks like it's there's Megacorps, there's factions, we're in space, fighting, go.
Yeah, when I read the line about corporations, I was like, Isaac's going to love this.
Oh, yeah, I love me a good Megacorp in sci-fi. I mean, who doesn't, right? Like, it's, they're kind of like the routine villains. Like, oh, here they come? Yeah, this is going to be a good story.
So speaking of story, Isaac, why don't we just launch into the story here? So, listeners, we've had, as you're probably aware, if you're a Gundam fan, there's really not been much information about this show for the last, 6 months, Isaac? We've just had a title, and then they released that teaser a few weeks ago, which was very short.
The teaser was essentially an image. It was like a year ago when we first heard about it, and all we knew was the poster art. Then the teaser came out 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's 2 seconds.
Yeah, so finally we got some more information about the story, the staff, the characters, the mobile suits. So we're going to talk about all of it, kind of our thoughts, our speculations. I was trying to sum up what this episode is going to be, Isaac, and what I decided it would be is a bunch of very irresponsible judgments, speculations, and predictions about a show that we know barely anything about.
Pretty much. We're grasping at straws in the dark, right?
So come along with us.
Grasp with us in darkness.
So, Isaac, the details of the story is pretty short, but it's a lot more than we had before. It's short enough to read, so I'm just going to read it.
Sure.
So we start in the year Ad Stella 122. So right off the bat, Isaac, we're in a new timeline.
Well, none you see.
An era when a multitude of corporations have entered space and built a huge economic system. A lone girl from the remote planet Mercury transfers to the Astacasia School of Technology, run by the Benerit Group, which dominates the mobile suit industry. Her name is Suletta Mercury. With a scarlet light burning in her pure heart, this girl walks step by step through a new world.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. So we got the Megacorps. It's going to span a huge economic system, so I assume we'll be seeing more than just a Mercury sphere. And sounds like it's going to be an innocent person, I assume, thrown into a mobile suit cockpit and forced to fight if she has a pure heart, right?
Yeah, if they mention that she got the pure heart, then you know she seems like a good person.
Brian, in episode 1, is her colony going to be attacked by mono eyes, and someone's going to throw her in the cockpit of a prototype mobile suit?
I don't know. I'm going to say no, actually, because of the school setup. I feel like she's already a pilot in the school, and that this is already her Gundam. So something There must be a slightly different setup this time.
The school will be attacked by Mono Eyes, and she'll have to like jump into a Gundam to defend the school.
That very well may happen, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a few things, obviously, from this paragraph that we can glean, Isaac. One, the corporation angle, as you mentioned. That's very relevant, very real world from what we kind of see developing in the space in today's world, right? I mean...
The space.
Today's space environment.
The industry.
Yes, the space industry. Today's space industry has a lot more corporations in it than it did 50 years ago.
Dare say it's kind of turned into only corporations.
Yeah, that's fair. This seems like a bit of a extension of Iron Blooded Orphans. We saw some corporations there. We do see some corporations in the UC, but not as many. It's not like all corporations, right? I feel like this is something that a lot of sci-fi stories underestimate sometimes, the presence of corporations rather than some governmental entity.
Yeah, absolutely. And this sounds like it's going to be much more, dare I say, Mobile Suit Gundam meets Cyberpunk. You know, where they're these big, powerful megacorps. They're pretty much governments on their own, and they've got a lot of high tech, and the heroes and characters are just kind of cogs in the machine or everyday people in the shadow of these giant corporations.
So there was no mention in that plot description about a Federation equivalent. You know, so do you think there will be a Space Force, Isaac?
I'm going to go on a limb with my knowledge of how megacorps usually appear. And I'm going to say there's going to be like the Solar Corporate Council or something like that, right? Where it's, the corporations probably don't all get along, but they have like this loose kind of thing where they can at least meet and talk, you know?
Yeah, that sounds right. Some sort of economic bloc type thing.
Yeah, just the UN of corps.
The second angle is this school angle. She's transferring from Mercury to this school. It sounds like this school of technology. I'm envisioning like an MIT or like a Caltech equivalent in that world. You
know what I'm kind of getting? I'm kind of getting like, not that I think it's going to go this way exactly, but remember Kira Yamato? He was in school. I think they were engineers or something, or they had like their little mobile suit class. Maybe it's like that.
Could be.
Yeah.
And this school is apparently run by the Benneret group, or Benneret. What do you think?
Benneret group.
Benneret. Okay. The Benneret group.
Uh-huh.
And they apparently dominate the mobile suit industry. So maybe they're the lead mobile suit producer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you read the character descriptions, it appears, Isaac, that there are factions within the Benneret group. And it sounds like those factions are going to be a little bit like Harry Potter houses, because it says these characters belong to the Jaturk house or the Grassley house. So what do you think about that? Is that the vibe you got, or am I like off on an island here?
No, it's very Dune/Game of Thrones, right? Now that they're bringing in houses, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So maybe these will be the factions. You know, what house are you in? Oh, I'm in such and such house. Well, they have a rivalry at their school because they're both students there, but you know, they're still loyal to their house at the end of the day.
Another thing is this description describes Mercury as a remote planet, which, I mean, obviously it's remote, it's far. But I also feel like we can infer that it's not full of life / completely colonized. So I'm perhaps thinking more along the lines of the Jupiter sphere in the Universal Century, except without all the fascism.
Yeah, without the insane totalitarian government that puts North Korea to shame. You raise a good point. My minimal knowledge of astronomy, I would assume that we'll hear some setting and background information, some lore setup that says, oh, you know, our group of colonies can only stay in like, you know, the shadow of Mercury. Otherwise we'd burn up.
Right.
And that way it'd be like, okay, that makes sense why their colonies look this way, or why their colonies only stay on this side of the planet, because it would be foolish to take that dose of radiation and heat, you know, by getting on the other side of Mercury and just getting blasted by the sun. So maybe their colonies will be kind of dark, but like very well lit on the inside, something like that. I don't know.
No, I think you're exactly right. I don't think it would have described it that way if it was just bustling and Mercury was full of people, right? Mercury is 750 to 850 degrees Fahrenheit on the sunny side per Google. And then the nighttime plummets to negative 350 or so.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, not very hospitable, and it's obviously a harsh environment. So I think you're right that we're probably going to have to get some sort of lore, you know, built in at some point. Probably not in the very beginning. I'm sure Mercury will remain a mystery for quite some time. Perhaps the mid-season finale, Isaac. That's when all the good stuff comes out. But the other thing to note, not only did it describe Mercury as a remote planet, but it also said that she transferred from Mercury. That's a big transfer, Isaac. Moving something from Mercury to Earth, that takes a lot of effort. So I'm going to guess that not everyone can do that. Why did she transfer? I think that'll be the backstory there. Was she running from something, perhaps? It had to have been pretty serious to go all the way from Mercury to Earth. Maybe she doesn't know what she's running from. Maybe someone, transferred her for a particular reason.
You think she's some type of new type or special abilities? That's why she's called the Witch from Mercury. I assume by her classmates, by the bullies in her class, I assume, right?
Absolutely. I think there's no other reason to be labeled a witch other than having some sort of other or special powers, even if they are perceived rather than real.
Yeah, if their school is all about tech and mobile suits, I assume she's going to get in the cockpit at one point and do something that like no one's able to do. So
agreed.
I'm sure her friends will be like, wow, that's pretty awesome. And then the enemies at the school will be like, oh my God, she's a witch and has to be destroyed.
So I agree with you. It sounds like it's going to be a fish out of water tale.
Yeah.
Take person A from place A and move them to place B. So the other thing I noticed, Isaac, before we move on to staff and characters here, but when I was looking up Mercury, and I'm sure I'm not the first one to notice this, so if this has been brought up before, I apologize. But when I was searching Mercury, the symbol for Mercury came up. The symbol for Mercury is almost the exact same as the symbol for Venus. The symbol for Venus is the female symbol, the little circle with the cross underneath it.
Okay.
The symbol for Mercury is the same symbol, but with two little horns on the circle. They look like little devil horns.
Huh.
I think that could be the inspiration for the witch for Mercury. If you look at it, it looks like a witch symbol. If you have no idea, about what it means, you would think it's a devilish female.
It's a symbol from the forces of evil. She must be burned.
So that's my thoughts. I'd be curious if other listeners, if you've noticed that or if that's been brought up somewhere else. But okay, so Isaac, that was the story we were given. Beyond that, we also were given the staff. Listeners, I'm just going to say I'm not going to pronounce any of their names because I'm going to butcher all of them, and I don't think they deserve that. So,
Brian, you must say their names as a sign of respect to our Japanese listeners.
God
and you
damn
must
it.
do it in a Japanese accent.
Kobayashi-san. There's a few that I can pronounce. I'll pronounce
we could do Hiroshi Kobayashi.
yeah. So the director is Hiroshi Kobayashi, who directed something called Dragon Pilot, Hisone and Masutan. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, as well as Kiznaier. I've not seen either of those, Isaac. Have you heard of those? I haven't. So if listeners, if you've seen those, I'd be curious on what your thoughts are.
No, I haven't. And if there's any comments of, how can you be an anime fan and not seeing that? Please understand that, that Brian and I don't exactly have the massive amount of time we did when we were younger to watch endless amounts of anime, and there's just so much anime to watch already. So we can't see everything, even if it's world renowned.
Right. That's exactly right. I would love to watch everything, listeners, but
yeah, I mean, I pay for Funimation, but like I know I'll never watch even 10% of what's on there.
Absolutely. I'm still behind on like Attack on Titan. I started watching that like when it came out, whatever, 7 years ago. So clearly I'm not up to date.
I know. I'm trying to. It's finished, so I need to catch up. And then there's all this time, like you want to rewatch something, then it's like you can't even get to something that's new. But anyways, right. I digress.
Yes. The assistant director is Ryo Ando, who looks like worked on Interviews with Monster Girls. It's probably not something that would have been in my queue, but perhaps someone out there has seen it.
You never know, Brian.
Probably the most interesting one to me, Isaac, is the series writer. The series is going to be written by Ichiro Okauchi? What do you think on that one, Isaac?
Ichiro Okauchi.
That's way better than what I did.
That's how you pronounce it. Okauchi-san.
So he wrote a very famous series called Code Geass. That was a big hit. That show is loved in anime fandom pretty heavily. I'll be honest, I watched the first few episodes of that show and I stopped watching it. Couldn't get into it. That said, I know a lot of people love it. Have you ever seen that show, Isaac? Or at least heard of it?
Yeah. I know vaguely a little bit about it. Oh, God, we sound like such terrible anime fans.
We do.
I know vaguely a little bit. What's an Evangelion? I know a little bit about it, but yeah, I haven't actually seen the whole thing, which isn't really a good excuse because the series is done. So we should be able to power through it sometime.
That one might be on Funimation. I'd have to go check, but
I assume it is. Yeah, I assume that was the top of the Funimation's list when they were putting together what content to actually license.
Yeah, that one. I mean, it's very famous. So if you like Code Geass, which I think a lot of people do, and you like Gundam, you should be pretty stoked that this person is involved. In terms of character design, we've got an illustrator whose name is Mogumo, who I think is a man. So I'll stop there, Isaac, for a moment before we get into mecha design. But I want to point out that I believe the director, the writer, and the main character designer, or at least the original character designer, they're all men, I think. Maybe not Mogumo. It was hard to find info on this person. But the other two are definitely men. That's a little surprising. I thought maybe they would choose a female with a female main character. That's like a popular choice now. It doesn't mean you have to. Just a little surprising to me. That's all.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But, different culture, right? I don't mean to say too much about a culture in a country I've never been to. But from what I understand, Japan is still very much set in the past, so to speak.
Japanese listeners, do you have any opinions on that? Send them directly to Isaac at Colony Drop.
Isaac is...
Do not send them to Brian at Colony Drop.
Send them directly to Brian.
And then in terms of mecha design, Isaac, we have quite a few people. I'm not going to go through their names, but they have quite the resumes here. You've got someone who worked on Metal Gear Solid. You've got someone who worked on Gundam 00, Macross Delta, Zettai Live, and then 3 individuals who worked on the Build Divers series. So there's a lot of variety of mecha designers here, Isaac, and I think you can kind of see that when we get to the mobile suits, because I can't say they're all the same.
No. I mean, that's kind of good, though, right? We get very crisp designs, and then kind of more bloated big boys. And then what I like to call modern mobile suit design, which is sort of angular tech, I would describe it as. Yeah. Angular tech. You've seen this skinny design since pretty much post-Seed.
Yeah, in 00, I think it started with the flags, right?
Oh yeah, 00. What else? Even in Iron-Blooded Orphans, there were a lot of this type of design. My issue with it is that it's almost generic mecha to the point where you don't see it as something wholly Gundam. But you know what? I'll save my actual opinion for when I see it.
Yeah, there you go. You got to see it in action, right?
Yeah.
So, Isaac, we also learned a lot about the characters in this show, or at least some of the characters. I'm sure this is not all the characters, obviously.
Yeah.
So, if we start at the top and go down, our main character, as mentioned in the plot synopsis, was Suletta Mercury, and she pilots the Gundam Ariel. So, first reactions, Isaac, to our image of Suletta here.
Brian, she has the same hair color as Amuro Ray.
Oh, might be a little brighter, no?
Oh, come on, give it to me.
You might be right. You might be.
Don't fight me on this. Are you kidding? We're arguing over shades of red? Shades of copper?
I think you're right, though. I see that. I see your point here. I did not even think about that.
Yep, she's a little Amuro Ray from Mercury.
A little messy, too, just like Amuro's hair, right? You know, Amuro was not the most kempt person.
No, just hanging around in his underwear when Frau Bo come over and all that.
There should be a side story called Fraternizing with Frau. And it's
Fraternizing? What is she, the enemy?
Just, get the alliteration in there.
Oh, boy. I'd recommend getting rid of that ponytail because, in combat, the enemy can grab anything. So just be careful. What I can tell from her also is she is dressed wholly different than the rest of the characters that we see. Like, she's in completely different colors, a different type of uniform. I guess unlike most schools where they have uniforms where everybody gets the same one, here they give you a uniform based on where you're from. So
could be.
You'll stick out.
Yeah, you're right. All the other students that we see in here have this sort of green and black color scheme, which I like a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a school version of Tekkaden.
Huh. Yeah.
But then hers, she's got the white and black.
Yeah.
And then with gold as an accent instead of red. So yeah, she's already got like a special look to her. So again, with the potential witch power there.
I'm guessing this takes place on Earth because almost everybody's in shorts.
Agree, yeah. It seems like it has to be Earth-based or at least somewhere not Mercury-based.
The school's in a part of Earth that's fairly warm where you'd want to be in shorts.
The open boots don't seem very functional, but my wife said they look super comfortable. So I did some very scientific research again, Isaac. I got the one female that I have access to.
Of course.
I said, do you like this character? And I read her the character description. Her character description basically says that, she's transferred here and that she lacks communication skills. My wife said, it looks like she's going to be a whiner and be helpless. Her shorts are stupid, but her hair looks like a warrior, and her boots look comfortable. So very valuable feedback, as you can tell.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, for all we know, the boots, that's how they do it in Mercury. That's all the style over there.
Let's talk about the lack of communication skills. I'm not excited for another protagonist that lacks communication skills. We've had this sort of in spades, and I don't need it again. We just had Mikazuki.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking this is going to be more like the girl Mika and less like a Karen Joshua or a Haman.
You think this is somewhat of a story tactic so that, like how in video games, the character you play as a lot of the times doesn't really say much. They have very, bland personality just so you can project yourself onto them.
Could be.
Is
Absolutely.
that the plan? Yeah.
Could very well be. But I mean, we get it all the time, right? We had Hiroyui, Mikazuki, we've had Setsuna, I would even argue that Shin from Sea Destiny kind of fits that mold a little bit. Amuro and Camille to some extent. I don't know. I feel it's a little overdone, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'll give them a little bit more credit and say that this is how she starts. Very timid, weak communication skills. And her arc is that she's going to come out of her shell, I assume save the planet or something, defeat some evil threat, and then have great communication skills in the final battle, giving out orders and, where to go and take this position, attack formation, whatever, all that.
What do you think about her name? Names are very important in Gundam. Almost all Gundam protagonists have very distinct names, right? If you Google Amuro, you get Amuro Ray. If you Google Camille with a K, you get Camille Bidon. Mikazuki, you get Mika, right? What about Suletta?
See, I'm okay with Suletta, but I'm kind of curious why her last name is Mercury. Is Mercury such a closed colony that, if you're born here, we all have the same last name? Or is this a case of, her cruel classmates are like, whatever your last name is, we'll just call you Mercury?
Could be, yeah. Or perhaps she doesn't know her last name. Maybe people from Mercury don't have last names.
The sun burned away their last name.
But I agree, it is a little odd, right?
Yeah. But I'll go with it. Maybe there's a good explanation. It's just a little bizarre that the planet you're from is your last name, like Bryan, California. Come on.
I'm going to wager that it's not her real last name.
Okay, well, we'll see. Plot thickens.
What do you think about the Gundam Ariel, Isaac? The titular mobile suit?
It gives me a lot of Reconquista vibe.
Absolutely.
Right, it has somewhat of a semi-organic structure to it. The face especially, it's not the usual Gundam face that we're used to, but I'm not wholly against it. I'm just not too wowed.
Yeah.
It gets points for not being in heels either.
I agree. I think it looks a bit awkward in the line art. I think I said that on some other episode. I think the model kit looks really good, and I think the animation, particularly that one poster we got, where it's getting up behind her, I think it looks really good there. So maybe it's just one of those that looks better in motion or in 3D rather than just kind of some flat line art.
Yeah.
Some of the proportions look a little weird to me. I feel like the shoulders are a little small, the thighs are a little big. And maybe that's intentional because when my wife looked at it, she said, "Oh, it looks female with the hips." Does it strike you as a female Gundam, Isaac?
Not quite. It strikes me as one that they purposely left a bit downgraded because we know there's going to be the halfway point upgrade part,
Absolutely. Yeah, I wrote down looks ripe for upgrades, so I think we're thinking along the same lines there.
The shoulders, the chest, it'll get a bigger crest. Everything will happen.
So, yeah, I think there's room to see where the Ariel goes. I agree with you. Don't hate it, but, I didn't look at it and be like, this is my favorite one ever. Is it going to work for female fans, Isaac? If you're a female who's never seen Gundam before, are you going to fall in love with the Gundam Ariel?
I don't think so, no. I mean, I can't speak for the female audience, but... No? I'll say no.
Yeah. So, listeners, I'm really curious to hear your opinion on the Gundam Ariel in particular. I mean, really, I want to hear what you think about all the mobile suits, but really the Gundam Ariel, because that's all the merchandise is going to have this one on it, for better or worse, right? No one talks about age anymore, because I don't feel like a lot of people love the age designs. You don't see age merchandise.
No, that crashed and burned, didn't it?
You see the Freedom Gundam everywhere. You see Wing Gundam Zero everywhere.
Yeah. Where's Reconquista?
yeah, well, I actually like the Reconquista stuff. I'm excited to watch those movies, but I'm just curious which path we think the Ariel is headed on here, so it'll be curious to see.
Not the good path.
Our second character, Isaac, is Miorine Rembrandt, or Rembrandt, probably like Rembrandt. So Miorine Rembrandt.
Yeah, the T was lost in the future.
Things are just sleeker in the future, Isaac. You don't have time for T's.
It's just we don't have time for that.
Cut it down. I think this is my favorite character design out of all the ones we got to see. I like her little hair floofs, and I like her shoes. I think they're mean looking, so I think she's powerful. She's not a pilot. She sounds like she's more of a political player at the school. What do you think about Miorine?
I'd like to imagine they become friends, and she's on the bridge of the White Blaze placeholder.
The inevitable capital ship.
Yeah, I don't think she's the captain necessarily, but she might be like the close female friend. She's one of the strategists on the ship, something like that.
So she's a really good student, distinguished academically, and she's the only daughter of Delling Rembrandt, the president of the Benneret Group and chairman of the school's board. She apparently does not like her father too much, or at least has a strong rebellious feeling. I'm getting like a class president vibe, Isaac, like the popular girl who's really good at everything.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking maybe more like Gigi, almost. Like maybe she'd be like bratty defiant, kind of.
Could be both.
Interestingly, she's the only one that doesn't. I mean, she's in shorts, but she's also in leggings. So who knows? In this universe, maybe like that's a class thing. You know, I'm better than you guys. Like, I cover my legs. Clearly, I'm part of the elite because I cover my legs.
You peasants and your bare legs.
Yeah, but she keeps her hair long too. Uh-oh.
Isaac, our third character is, oh boy, Guel? Guel?
It's Guel.
Guel Jaturk. That is a mouthful, Isaac. Guarantee you he's the only fictional character named that.
He's angry because of his name.
Similar to Miorine, he is an heir to one of the three houses, Jaturk Heavy Machinery. And it looks like he's the ace pilot of that house, the Jaturk house. Apparently he has quite the temper, Isaac, and he's very confident in his skills. And he pilots the Dilanza. I'm going to let you describe that one, because that, as you said, is a thick boy.
Oh, boy. Okay. This thick boy, he heard about shoulder pads, and he decided to double up. He went for the XXXL. And he's a flamboyant guy, so he said, you know what? I want my mobile suit to be magenta. And then after it was done painted, he said, I don't think this is enough. I think I need a massive feather on my head. So he put a massive feather on the crest of his mobile suit. And this thing is just, it screams loud. It screams either I'm an ace or I'm clearly in command of my own squadron.
Yeah, so I mean, supposedly he's the ace of that house. The proportions on this are pretty wonky, Isaac. The torso is really big. The legs are too short, and the shoulders are huge.
Yeah, it doesn't have like Dom bell bottoms, but it's got like these kind of big thigh calves.
Yeah.
What also kind of throws me off is, what do we call this? The groin guard, the cod piece of the mobile suit. It's like oversized.
It is.
It's got a lot going on.
Maybe he's compensating, you know?
Maybe, yeah. Just looking at the back, this clearly has some type of heat weapon or something like that, right? It's got these two swords, so.
Those two sword things do look pretty intimidating. And then he's got, you know, if you look at his hair, he's got this sort of pink swath of hair amongst all of his brown hair, which I think goes with the feather on his suit, right?
Yeah, he wants people to know it's him. So, Brian, just looking at his face, like, good guy, bad guy?
I think he's a angry good guy.
Yeah, okay. He'll be like the reckless brother on the ship, right?
Yes, agree.
Okay. In combat, he's a cannon, but like a loose cannon.
Yeah, he's a rhino that you just let go.
He'll interrupt the strategy meeting.
My first thought on him, Isaac, was actually that he looks like Andrew Waldfeld in his angsty teenager phase. My wife says he looks like a frat bro.
Oh, yeah, especially the way he like carries his jacket. Like,
yeah.
I'm too tough. I got that. Well, that's a Japanese cultural thing, right? I think I read.
I mean, I see that a lot in anime, yeah.
The jacket on your shoulders is like defiance or something, or something like that, or you're nonconformist.
Next, we move to another house, another faction, the Pale House, which I believe is from Pale Technologies. I don't know, what do you think? Peel?
I'd say Peel.
Okay, Peel House or Peel Technologies. This person's name is Elon Saris, and he pilots the Gundam Ferrict. Isaac, sounds like he is a top pilot. He's very solitary, and I think the most important part of his description is he does not open his heart to anyone in the school, and he has an interest in Suletta. What does that scream to you, Isaac?
I mean, he might be the villain. I don't know, or one of the villains.
Is he our Char?
I think the next character might be actually Char, but
Oh, okay.
there could be some type of subversion. We don't know yet. See, I don't know if this is going to be like the case of like the friend on the ship who like had feelings for her the whole time, and he's like really introspective, or he really is going to be the Char, and Peel Technologies is going to be the villain behind the whole thing.
His look reminds me a little bit of McGillis. He's very pensive. I feel like he's hiding something.
Yeah, very intelligent.
Yeah, the Gundam Ferric, it looks evil. It looks very Zone of Enders. This is your one, right, with the modern design. It's got the slim waist, the big stilettos.
Oh, God,
the spindly legs, spindly arms. The red little details are...
sinister.
Yeah, very sinister. I agree. That's perfect.
In a game, those will be like flashing red, and you have to shoot those.
There you go.
What I don't like is the face, though. Once again, we have a case. I'm not my own traditionalist, but you look at the face and you don't think that's a Gundam. You just look at the face and you think that's a mobile suit.
Yep, fair.
It doesn't have the distinguishing Gundam look.
Agree. It definitely reminds me more of McGillis's, those other suits that he used in Iron-Blooded Orphans, the ones that were not Gundams.
Yeah. And extrapolating what I can from Peel House and Peel Technologies, I'm guessing their faction is all about ranged weapons, because I don't see a single handheld weapon on his mobile suit.
Good point. Did not notice that. Yeah, I don't see any beam sabers unless he's hiding them somewhere.
Yeah.
He's also the only other character besides Suletta that has a Gundam. For right now, anyway.
Oh, boy. We know we're going to see more than one, but for now, yeah. So maybe he will be the rival.
The last character we got a little insight into is Shaddiq Zanelli, who is from Grassley House, or Grassley Defense Systems, the third house of the factions. And he pilots the Michaelis. I like this guy's design. I think he's cool. He's little curvy sandals. He's adopted, right? I think from the Grassley CEO.
Yeah. I got red flags everywhere. Okay. He's dressed so different. He's got like poofy pants.
Yeah, he does have poofy pants. Never trust anyone with poofy pants, listeners.
I'm big on pants. Like, fans, if we ever meet and stuff, like at a convention or something, I'm going to look at your pants. So, you'll be sized up and I'll be like, I can't trust this guy.
If they're too poofy, you go to the back of the line.
This man's got too much pant going on. He's blonde like Char, Brian. He's blonde like Char. And don't let the look on his face fool you. There's something else going on with this guy, with him being... I'm sure this whole adopted thing will be revealed that, like, oh my God, he was actually from Mercury too, and he's going to get revenge on Earth for Mercury.
Yes.
And then, like, he's going to be the final villain. Something's going to happen.
So that was my other thought for another reason we'll get to here at the end. But I think you're supposed to think Elon is Char, but Shaddiq is probably Char.
It's a bait. It's bait for the audience.
What do you think about the Michaelis? I like this one. This one's my favorite one.
No.
No.
I don't care for it. It's very Zone of the Enders kind of looking thing. It looks interesting. Like it actually looks like it's high tech. Like maybe his faction, his house, maybe they're all about energy weapons or something, because it looks like he's only built for energy weapons or something, right?
Yeah, I don't see a gun. I see what looks like maybe a shield or an arm cannon.
And then on the other side, some type of beam has to come out of that gauntlet thing.
Oh, perhaps, yes. Perhaps a gauntlet saber, something like that.
So maybe their house went all in on energy weapons.
The only thing I don't like about the Michaelis is the feet are too small.
Those tiny little heels.
Yeah, those aren't going to get it done.
Those dainty little house slippers.
Those are space feet, Isaac. Those aren't land feet.
No. Well, maybe this was an animation choice because they really wanted like the shoulders and upper body to really, bloom as you go up. But yeah, and I'm not a fan of the colors either. It's eh.
I think it looks cool. I think it looks like a knight kind of thing, like a knight in armor.
Yeah, I'll give it that, yeah.
So I can dig that. So the last thing we learned, Isaac, is that there is going to be a prequel episode called Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury Prologue. Very creative there on the name. It will premiere on July 14th, so pretty soon, about a month away, at an event called Gundam Next Future Link the Universe. It's an event held at the 4 different sites where the life-size Gundams are. It sounds like it'll be aired there. I'm sure hopefully they put it online or something after that. And there will be 2 different mobile suits in that, Isaac. Did you notice that? One of them is the Gundam Elfrith, and the other has a terrible name. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you get first pass at that one.
This is clearly from Shaddiq Zanelli's house, Grassley Defense Systems, because it's the identical color scheme to the Michaelis mobile suit.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, Brian, this thing has no visible weapons that I see, so I assume it shoots lasers from some parts of its body or beam weapons. And this is the Beguir.
Agree on your observation there. So I think that lends more credence to your Shaddiq is Char theory.
Yeah.
Because the Elfrith clearly is or is related to the Gundam Ariel.
Yeah.
And the Beguir Boo is clearly or is or related to the Michaelis.
Yeah, I'm assuming the houses, we're going to be... looking at a mobile suit, you're going to instantly be able to tell what house it's from.
Right.
You know, and that house has its own approach to combat and defenses and how they design the mobile suits. So we're going to get very defined factions based on the houses, and the mobile suits are going to correspond to that color-wise and also design and weapon-wise.
When you look at the Gundam Ariel, does it belong to any one house? Or what do you see in it? I don't think it belongs to any one house.
That's a good point. You think, okay. You think that we're going to get a reveal in like episode 1 or something? They're like, well, you know, the Gundam Ariel was actually the only joint operation from all the houses to work together and build one mobile suit.
Could be, or it could be some rogue faction from Mercury.
The Mercury Resistance. Okay. Yeah, one of those two is going to obviously be it. Like, Mercury's like, look, this is what we put together out in Mercury. And the other houses are probably like, oh my God. How is this possible?
It runs on space magic, space witch powers.
Yeah, only a witch could pilot that. Some of our guesses were wrong, though, Brian, because we don't see any references to cauldrons or covens.
I know, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we don't see magic symbols or magic of any kind.
They're really dropping the ball, Isaac.
This is very much of someone being called a witch, either because of what a beast they are on the battlefield or some other reasoning.
I mean, we kind of like surmise that at least, you know, just we failed on the witch imagery.
We'll save that for Halloween Gundam.
So, brilliant idea. We should do that.
Halloween Gundam.
Coming soon, listeners. Halloween Gundam.
Yeah, just give us 4 months.
Okay, so Isaac, that was pretty much all the news we got. Are you more or less excited now to watch the show?
I'm more excited. I like what I've seen so far about the setting. I'm very curious about the houses and how they stick to this kind of rigid approach to their mobile suit design. Female lead character. I'm really surprised at that, and I'm really interested in seeing where it goes. So I'm all aboard. I'll even watch the dub. Just get it to me. How about you, Brian? How you feel about all this?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think what I like the most, Isaac, is that the setting and sort of the setup feels different, right? So, like, if you look at the setup of Seed or Double O, it feels a little samey. It doesn't mean it's a bad show. It just means that it's a little bit similar to what you've seen before. So here, I don't get that sense at all. And I liked that about Iron-Blooded Orphans. I think that's what made it such a good show, was that it was very different. You know, there was no Federation versus Zeon. There was no 5 super teenagers that do something, that kind of thing. So I get that same vibe from this show, and I'm excited to see where they take it. And I think that the setup of this show being a school show, which is something we talked a lot about in our Gundam Wing rewrite, I think that's a good idea if they're trying to get new people into Gundam, which I believe is a stated goal of this series. I think they want young people from all over the world to get into Gundam and enjoy this show.
Oh, so it's going to be almost like a Harry Potter Gundam approach, right? Like there's these 4 houses, you know, like there's the Slytherin house, and they're like, they're all, you know, there's like the Gryffindor house, and of course they're all heroes and, you know, good looking. And then there's the other houses that you can kind of forget about, you know, but like they're battling it out the school and all that. And there's going to be a headmaster of the school. Okay. I see what they're doing.
Could very well be. Look, all I'm saying is that instead of selling one piece of merchandise with the school's logo on it, now you can sell 3 pieces of merchandise, 1 from each house, right? You know, you got 3 different logos.
What house are you with? I'm with Grassley House. What house are you with? I'm with Peel House.
Well, you're clearly with the Jaturk house because they have all the thick stuff.
Yeah, I might have to go with them, even though, like, I don't think that the Dilanza represents me very well. It's like, do we really have to go into combat with feathers on our heads? Yes.
Thick but showy.
Yeah, even I have limits to how showy I can be, though. But sure, maybe it performs great. One thing that's kind of interesting, or maybe not, maybe they'll show up later, but no mono eyes.
Yeah, so far, anyway.
You think they'll show up later as like...
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you look at the Michaelis, that's sort of a mono eye. It's kind of a visor It's not really a mono eye.
Yeah, that's just a static screen, though. Like
Yeah.
for all we know, there's going to be a rival school, right? They fight like once in a while, and of course they got the mono eyes.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the Dom, though. It's got the little cross. Maybe a mono eye will crop up in there. If you see the mono eye right away, you know that he's the guy, right?
Yeah, we'll see. No red mobile suit, though. Interesting. At least not yet,
It's more woke now. You got magenta.
Yeah. It's not the same, though, like,
Yeah.
No, there has to be red. It's tradition.
Agree. Yeah, I don't know where the red one is. I'm sure we'll see it at some point.
Yeah.
I will say that the Michaelis would look pretty menacing in red.
Yeah, actually. I mean, yeah, maybe there'll be a color change at some point. One thing I'm not expecting from the series, just based on this information, fleet battles. I think will be a very fleet battle-less series.
Agree. I don't see any mention of giant fleets here. There's no grand political governmental feud between governments that would have the resources to produce space fleets.
I think we might see ships a bit more like we did in Gundam Wing, where they're essentially just moving the mobile suits into space, and or in season 2 of 00.
Yeah,
the ships almost never fight each other. They just launch their mobile suits and either get destroyed or just go home.
Isaac, this is a school show. Do you think we're going to get a tournament arc?
I'd hope so. Yeah, I wonder how this fighting is going to play out. Like, are they actually going to be like war fighting, or is it going to be almost like not like G fighter or build fighters, but almost like sparring? Like they're competing technologies, so they always go toe to toe. It's just never to the death.
Okay, Isaac, any last thoughts before we turn it over to the listeners?
We're excited. We hope it's great. We hope that it was done incredibly well. We're excited for it, and we can't wait to see it.
All right, listeners, give us your thoughts on any of the new information that we received, the plot synopsis, the characters' mobile suits. Let us know what you're excited about. Do you think any of our predictions are ridiculous? Do you think we're on the money? Who do you think's the bad guy? Is it Shaddiq? Is it Elon? Let us know. I really don't think it's Guel. Guel? I don't think it's Guel.
I'm pretty sure it's Blondie. I'd put money on it.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. Isaac, take us away.
All right, listeners, before you go to sleep tonight, stand next to your bed, get on your knees, put your hands together, look up at the ceiling, and hail the witch from Mercury.
Good night, everybody.